Mr. Christopher Fernando, Chairperson Spices and Allied Products Producers and Traders Association, and Ms. Dilani Hirumutogodage, Research Economist, Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka, to join us on stage. And to moderate the discussion, we have with us today the co-founder of ethical fashion accessories brand Kantala. Did I pronounce that properly? Yes, I did, thank you. To take over the mic from me, and may I invite to do that, Mr. Vikum Rajapaksha. Vikum, over to you.
I hope everyone can hear me. Is that good? The audience at the back, am I audible to you? Hello? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, good morning, everyone. So, I know this is going to be the session, usually the session before the lunch break is the one which everyone, I think, this is going to be a very interesting session. We have a very interesting and attentive group of speakers here in our panel today. So we had a lot throughout the morning session in terms of what has happened with the Ceylon Cinnamon PGI project and kind of how the successes of that, the experiences of that has really created the opportunity to expand what we learned, the benefits, the gains, the development from that into the wider spice sector. And considering where Sri Lanka is right now, in terms of our economy, but in terms of social development as well, considering that the spice sector employs a lot of our farming communities, smallholder farmers, in especially marginalized communities. This is especially a sector which has both economic value, but also quite a lot of social development value as well. So, as I said, so we have in terms of what happened with the Cinnamon PGI project, the developments of that. So we have a gentleman here who was very involved from the very inception, the ideation stage of the Ceylon Cinnamon PGI project, Mr. Melvin Spray. So my first question is to you, Mr. Spray, and what we're really interested to understand probably in more detail is, in terms of the learnings, the developments, the successes from the Ceylon PGI project, how do you see the wider spice sector benefiting from those experiences, learnings? What can be done, should be done to really elevate the wider spice sector based on what we learned from the Ceylon PGI project, Cinnamon PGI project?
Thank you very much. I hope you can all hear me, and this microphone is working. So I haven't said much yet about the Standards and Trade Development Facility this morning, also in my opening remarks. But basically, the STDF operates as a, let's say, as a funding mechanism, but also as a knowledge platform, right? So we finance sanitary and phytosanitary or STS projects around the world, and the cinnamon project that we funded, was one of those projects. Other projects that we have funded, for also on pencha pepper in Cameroon, and that project or that spice was mentioned as well this morning. That's another example. So in the SDF we attach great importance to the lessons that we can learn from our projects, and I think especially in the cinnamon project we have seen a few lessons that I think could be brought forward also for future projects in the country. I think the first thing what I've seen in the cinnamon project, and what I think is important in any initiative, is that trade should really benefit people, and I think that's exactly what the project, the cinnamon project, has done. It has really sort of went down to work with smallholder producers, with processors, and with exporters on the ground, and I think that is sort of really a prerequisite, and I think that should also be replicated in future projects. I think second, what we have seen is a very strong partnership between the public and the private sector, and that's all about creating a favorable, enabling environment, about establishing the common interest, the common goal, establishing good communication channels. And that's not something that is happening overnight. That takes time, that takes investment, that takes a lot of political will, and it takes a lot of resources. But again, it's very important for the success also of future projects, to have that sort of public-private partnership working. That also means that the government should continue to invest in infrastructure, in extension, resources, almost as a I would say as a global public good. Right? That's how I would basically see it. The private sector needs to continue to bring in resources and expertise and knowledge. And I also think that when we look at the value chain, and it has already been mentioned a couple of times, this morning, we really need to see if we can, shorten the supply chain and to make it more traceable, to enhance competitiveness, and to make sure that the benefits also really arrive at the farmer in the end, on the ground. And another thing that I think is really important, and I think Johann Hesse also spoke about it in his opening remarks this morning, is that it's important to remain realistic and to really keep in mind, what is my ultimate market? Because ultimately, your level of standards compliance really depends on the market, right? And that can be the EU market, right? That's the market that fetches the highest price, probably. But at the same time, it also requires the highest investment. So sometimes it's also good to take a gradual approach, before you get there. So those were, I think, the three things that I would like to highlight from this.
Thank you, Ms. Bray.